was my first and last mistake. I'm blue without your face. But what can I do? 'Cause I'm just a sinking ship, and you're just a pair of lips that I've lost in the moment. All I want is for you to come back. Now I'm caught in the middle of life, and I need you to survive.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host, your brother, and your friend, Rashid, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining me on the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, on God's green earth. This is your platform for education, elevation, and edification. This is the Red Pill Diaries. Hold on one second, everybody. Hold on. Here we go again with this foolishness. So, everybody, listen. It says connected. Default. Okay, we're connected. All right, everybody. So shout out to everybody who's watching the most powerful platform for truth on God's green earth. And today's show, war clouds building just before. Check this out. I just want to show you something. I see. Look at the background here. Let me move over. Or let me move over the other way. Okay. So now we're getting a little understanding of what's really transpiring, what's really going on. Shout out to Olga in the building. Shout out to the Blue Pill family in the building. Shout out to Goku Double 089 in the building. It took me a second. Shout out to RJ Sparks in the building. Spiceman C6J in the building. Beer Break 1 in the building. My guy Pedro is in the building from across the pond. Shout out to Pedro. Brooke Chin is in the building. Shout out everybody. Thank you for joining me on the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, on God's green earth. Now, I'm gonna take this off the screen for a second. Oh, shout out to Lee Argent in the building. I almost missed you also. I'm sorry about that. Look, today's show, we've got to understand what's actually going on with America's policy, okay? Matter of fact, so that you can see me better, hold on one second. Let me take my hat off. I haven't been able to shave today because my skin is tight right now. So guys, forgive me for that. I try to be presentable to the people. But look, therein lies an economic collapse, the likes of which you've never seen before. And I believe that this has triggered the empire to go on a rampage to try to salvage what part of the empire they believe that they can salvage. Shout out to Sig J7P in the building. So what I mean by that is, a lot of times, and I say this often, what gets left out of the entire discussion is the debt problem. Hold on one second. Brooke says something. Did you hear news about Top Gun 3? Also, U.S. Navy says they're going to announce a winner for a company to develop the Navy's 6th generation fighter jet. Wonder how that will impact the U.S.-China's arms race. Crap. China has already debuted 2 of them. The United States is still trying to make one of its 5th generation warplanes work in lightning storms, rain when it rains, okay? That should show you where we are today. This is not 20 years ago when America had full technological, full spectrum dominance over everybody. All right. Pedro across the pond said, "Hey, Rashid, we have the same haircut." Anyway, check this out though. Brooke Chin says, I think they had a hearing to discuss the U.S. Department of War budget for fiscal year 2027, $1.5 trillion. Remember what I told you, what former Pentagon official who was over the Pentagon budget and who did the numbers said, Mike Maloof. On one RT discussion when he was being interviewed. Mike Maloof says whatever they tell you, and I could be mistaken, but he said multiply it by, I think he said 2 or 3, or he could have said 3 to 5, one of the two, that he said. So if they are publicly announcing a 1.5 trillion upgrade, then let's just take the lowest number and double it, 3 trillion. Now think about all of the things that could remedy in America domestically. All of the close to now 80,000 bridges and roads that need to be fixed. Building up infrastructure, building up high-speed railway, the investment in the R&D into bettering the lives of the people instead of investment into biological warfare. Think about how that could have saved that mother that has to leave her child in a hotel room to go to 2 jobs and come back hoping that the child hasn't gotten into anything so that she doesn't go to jail. She's out there, or the father that is doing the same thing. Think about how $3 trillion could remedy that, because it only takes 20 trillion to eradicate homelessness. I mean, 20 billion. 20 billion, which is a small, minute fraction of 3 trillion, and another 20 to 40 trillion to eradicate poverty and homelessness altogether. So now, if we understand this, here lies the problem right here, not understanding. So if we understand that, and Trump says America first, and Pam Bundy says America first, and Hexif says America first, and you have Rubio saying America first, and you have people believing America first. First in what? Leading your people to the bottom? Poverty? Homelessness? Hunger? The destruction of domestic infrastructure? The cutting of jobs and the cutting of funding for Head Start, and the destruction of America's education? Huh? America first in what? Spending the most money on an ill-advised, inefficient, bloated military behemoth that can't even churn out 5th-generation warplanes without them having to land if it starts raining or lightning. Do you know? I was looking at Mike Maloof one time. I think this was years ago. It could have been Mike Maloof or someone else. But I know for a fact, the late Scott Bennett told me this personally when we talked on the phone, that they spend sometimes on a screw $50. I'm talking about a screw to go into the ships that they make. Hammers, $100 hammers. Seriously, this is why the budget is so bloated. And listen, they believe that spending more will remedy their fall, their decline, when it is only magnifying it and speeding it up. Shout out to everybody who is joining us in the building. I don't want to shout out to Flying Crocodile is in the building. Let me highlight a few things people said before I go further into this. Brooke Chen says he hopes that everybody is doing well in the chat. I'm glad he said. Brooke says that. Let's see. Glad to catch the stream live. Yeah, I'm glad you called it live too, because sometimes they don't send out my notifications. Well, a lot of the time. What are the 2 people in your background? Donald J. Trump and Mr. Epstein himself. Those are the 2 people in the background. And let me move over again so you can see Epstein files, okay? Which is leading this man in his insane push for war. Shout out to Flying Crocodile that says, salute to Rashid and all of the chat. Have spicy beef and chicken noodles and ready to be enlightened. Ask Anthony 1. Cheers from Canada to Rashid and Larry. Shout out Dave 59_5947. Europe is trying to be first too. Yeah, first to the bottom, right? It's absolutely crazy, right? Donald M says they're going to get rid of homelessness by getting rid of most of Boom, mic drop moment. By getting rid of most of us, every country knows that the species isn't sustainable with 8 billion people living here. Uh, let's see. Uh, Rashid, what time is it over in America? I live in Africa. In Africa, it is 7, I guess 7 p.m. your time. Or 7 a.m. your time, because it is 6. Right now it's 6:11. My time p.m. Yeah, I'm on Central Standard Time. All of these different time zones you have in the United States. You have East Coast, Eastern Time, then Central, then I think it's Mountain, and then I think it's Pacific, if I'm not mistaken. It might be another one in there. I think it's Pacific. I think those are the 4th time zone. But think about what you have to deal with Russia. I think Russia has 11 or 12 time zones. So that's crazy. M Sparks is in the building. So look, I want to let me see. Yeah, everybody continues to continue the conversation in the chat, everybody. But I want to go to something real quick, okay? And as I was telling you about the economics of something, I think this gets left out of all of the discussions, and this is one of the most important part, because without the economics of it, there is no military component, there is no scientific component, there is no industrial component, there is no manufacturing component. And America is losing out in every area, and she sees the one lever of power that she still has. Which, don't get it twisted, America is still something to be dreaded on the battlefield now. It's the military. And what she's doing now is she's going all out. She's alienating everybody. She's alienating enemies and allies alike, because this is what empires do when they find themselves in untenable positions. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you some hypocrisy as we address the economic sides of things. Okay, so we're going to go to definitions, because I like, when I talk to you, I like to talk definitions, so that you'll have a clear understanding of what is being said, and so will I, so that I can't take advantage of you, and no one else can take advantage of you. Because when you understand the meaning of words, then it gives you leverage in talks with people, or it enlightens you to a point where you can actually understand what Trump is saying to Hexen. See, because most people in the upper echelons, when they're talking, you believe that they're talking to you. No, they're talking at you, but they're talking through you to someone else. They're talking to the people who fund them. They're talking to the people who have dirt on them. They're talking to the people, but America first. America this. Has he delivered on America first? Why not? Because he has to deliver to those people who put him in office. He has to deliver to those people who hold the proverbial gun to his head. He has to deliver to those people who has all of the economic and the socio-economic and the media levers against him. That's first. Okay? So now let's go to something. All right? Let me, you guys continue in the chat. Matter of fact, I'll put the chat up on the screen for a second. Hold on 1 second. So that the chat can continue going. Give me a second. Man, I tell you what. You guys got to understand, I'm using something new, so you got to forgive me on that. Chat? Nah. I want to go to here. Here's the chat right here. So let me put you guys on the screen so the conversation can continue to go. It'll catch up in a second for the conversation on the screen. Okay? So now I want to go back to my dashboard while that is up. Now, I'm going to play a clip for you guys. This will be of the War Secretary. All right? I think this is the war. Yeah, this will be of the War Secretary and his demonization of the Iranian government, or like they like to say, the regime. And if anybody's a regime, it's actually the United States and NATO nations. But I want you to listen to what he has to say, because when we listen to this and then we examine his words and we flip the mirror around, what we'll be seeing is projection. Okay? And this is only one part of the collapse of the world. Oh, and by the way, I want to take the time out today. It's the 21st to give a shout out to my sister, Charmaine. Happy birthday. I'm not going to reveal how old you are, but you're older than I am. So you're older than dirt. And I know this is she's going to tell me off later on. Shout out to my sister Charmaine. She's my sister that's right above me in age. Happy birthday to her. Also, um, well, tomorrow we're supposed to have uh, the host of neutrality studies on the show at 6 p.m. Central Time, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken on that. Go to the Red Pill Diaries and look and see. We're supposed to have that, so you guys got to join. Now, let me play this clip here, and then after the clip, we'll come back. We'll examine his words. Listen, we won't examine them with what Rashid thinks. We're going to examine them through definitions, and then we're going to see what you think. All right? So pay close attention to this.
On capabilities, Iran's an energy-rich country, could be, should be. Instead, like so many other places driven by a radical ideology, they've spent that money instead of investing in their people. That's why you had millions of Iranians protesting. It's because they felt like their conditioned quality of life didn't match what it could be or should be. And what was the Iranian state? There's a reason we call Iran the #1 state sponsor of terrorism, because they took the money they make and they invest it in tunnels, and they invested in missiles, and they invested in launchers and UAVs, and we are destroying and degrading that.
Now you heard that part. We're going to play the whole thing. But it's something in the first part of what he says. Well, it's in everything that he says that you can hear the hypocrisy. But pay attention to the first few seconds of what he says and how he's portraying Iran of mismanaging money, right? And investing in weapons instead of the people. All right? And I want you to just listen to him as he looks and he talks about extreme ideology. Remember those words, extreme ideology. Okay? So I'm going to play this again, and I want you to keep that in mind as we address that after we look at the video. It should be playing now.
To that point on capabilities, Iran's an energy-rich country, could be, should be. Instead, like so many other places driven by a radical ideology, they've spent that money instead of investing in their people. That's why you had millions of Iranians protesting. It's because they felt like their conditioned quality of life didn't match what it could be or should be. And what was the Iranian state? There's a reason we call Iran the #1 state sponsor of terrorism, because they took the money they make and they invest it in tunnels, and they invested in missiles, and they invested in launchers and UAVs, and we are destroying and degrading that in historic proportions. But it doesn't mean they won't still have some and try to hold people at issue, which is why we're fighting every single day to continue to compel. And you mentioned embassies and consulates. Unlike previous administrations, we are doubling and tripling down on ensuring that our people, regardless of their Department of War, Department of State, whatever they do, are secure in those facilities. And the best defense is a good offense. And so we're not afraid to go after and kill anybody, and we have a lot of them attempting to target our diplomatic facilities. Iran, we're not surprised that they would indiscriminately target, and we're still seeing that.
So first of all, he just committed a war crime by openly stating that they'll go after and kill leaders of other countries. Second of all, he's violated all kinds of international norm. Third of all, he's incriminated not only himself but the entire administration through that admission. All right, and then he says that that they're doing whatever they can to ensure the safety of the people in their staff. And then they're saying that it doesn't surprise them if Iran tries to do X, Y, and Z when he just said that America is doing it. The hypocrisy of this. He says Iran and its extreme ideology. Now I wanna go to something, okay? You know what? I'm gonna share the screen with this. I'm not gonna even play around. Let me go back real quick. Let me go back to this. Yes, let's see. Should we share the screen with this? Yeah. Okay. We'll share the screen with this. This should come up here on your screen. All right. And now I'm going to take the chat off of the screen. Boom. Hold on one second, everybody. There we are. All right. Okay. All right. So now you get a chance to see this, and I'm gonna take the chat off for 1 second. because I don't want the chat interfering with your view. Oh, come on. Here we are with this foolishness, bro. Hold on 1 second, everybody. We're having problems here. This is a new technology we're trying to roll. Let's see. Come on, man. Don't do me like this while I'm trying to do this. Anyway, we don't need that side anyhow. Oh, take this off the screen. Now, look at this. Haksif is a Christian Zionist. You see that on the screen, right? I hope you do. Now, let's go to this. Pete Haksif, according to the AI overview, has explicitly, meaning openly and braggadociously, stated he is both a Christian and a strong supporter of Israel's existential defense, affirming his alignment, listen to this, with Christian Zionist beliefs during his 20. He supports a close U.S.-Israel of the temple in Jerusalem and brings religious, sometimes crusader rhetoric into his military views. That's right there. Right there. Highlighted. So when he talks about Iran's extreme ideology, who the hell is the extremist? Huh? Who is the extremist that just openly said that we won't hesitate to kill you? We'll go after you. We'll kill you. But don't you come after us to kill us, because that's an act of war, and that breaches international law. I'm asking you guys. This is Haksif saying this, right? This is the report on Haksif, not on Rashid. All right. So now we get this off the screen for a minute. Let me clear this off the screen 1 second. 1 second, everybody. You see, I'm trying my best to get there. Okay, stop this. Okay, stop. All right, now let's see. Let's go back. All right, here we are. So now there's another one. I'm going to read something else to you. Remember, he said that Iran, the cause of the protest was because Iran would rather invest their money into missiles, drones, weapons, and caves, and all of that stuff. And this is what sparked the protests, even though Donald Trump openly admitted, and we can pull it up, that he delivered weapons to the so-called protesters, even when the American media said that these were spontaneous protests. But Trump said we delivered weapons to them. Now, if you don't know the Iranian people, if you don't know the leaders of the protests, if you have nothing to do with the protests, then how the hell do you know who to deliver the weapons to in the protests for them to use them? And these were not just knives. These weren't machetes. These were machine guns. These were bombs. These were not Molotov cocktails, but these were hand grenades. How in the hell can you justify that? Huh? I'm asking you this. If you had nothing to do with the protest, then how would you know who to contact to deliver the weapons through these channels? If you had no channels, if you had no contacts, if this was spontaneous, if this was against the so-called quote-unquote Iranian regime, how do you know where to deliver the weapons, who to deliver the weapons to, and what kind of weapons these people requested to do the kind of work of blowing up hospitals, ambulances, banks, and they went after all critical infrastructure? I'm asking for common sense. Remember, we use common sense in this, right? So now, let's go to something. Condemning Iran for investing in its military. This is what Pete Haksif, I'm not going to put it on the screen. You can put these words in the search engine and you can pull it up. Haksif says the U.S. will build the most powerful military in the world. As of early 2026, Pete Haksif, acting as the U.S. Secretary of War, formerly Secretary of Defense, has stated that the U.S. will build the most powerful military in the world. He has focused on a peace through strength agenda, which includes upgrading, listen to this. Upgrading. To upgrade something means that you have to invest more in what you have to make it more reliable, right? More powerful and more efficient. Is that not right? To do that, one must then invest more money in research and development. Is that not right? Okay, we have that understanding. So, and everybody who's talking, I can't see you at this moment because I'm reading this on another screen, and I'm not on the streaming service that you are looking at me on. Okay, so give me a second. I could have pulled it up on that, but I want to do this where it's no holdups on this. Okay, so now it says he has focused on a peace through strength agenda, which includes upgrading military capabilities, expanding the defense industrial base, and restructuring the military to be more lethal and focused on combat. Now, if this is what he's trying to do, and we have a few more things to talk about, okay? How does that get done without money? And if the money that you use did not get it done over the years, then what does that mean about the funding that you need to try to get that to happen? That means you must put more money into that at the expense of what? Social care, health care, Head Start, school, infrastructure, scientific development and progress. You have to push all of that stuff to the side and allocate more money, which you don't have because you have a smaller tax base. You don't have the nation's buying debt as they once did. So now what you have to do is debt projection on future generations, which is an unbearable position to be in because it can't last forever. So who is thinking more of their people, Iran or the United States? And who is misallocating funds for war? Is it Iran or the United States? According to what Pete Hegseth have said, not according to what I have said, but according to what he has said. Now let's go a little further. All right, we'll get to the chat in a minute. I just want to read a few things. Okay. So, key statements and initiatives. Most powerful military. Hegseth has stated that for generations to come, the U.S. will maintain the most powerful, capable, and lethal military in the world. Defense industrial buildup, right? Hold on, let's see something real quick. All right. Okay. The words together, build up means to gradually increase, to strengthen, to develop, or accumulate something over time, such as building up savings, stamina, or a reputation. It also refers to constructing many buildings in an area, praising someone, or the accumulation of material. Now, how do you do that without money? Huh? If your $1 trillion budget hasn't done it, now you're saying a $1.5 trillion budget, right? Iran's military budget runs roughly what? Let's see what they say. Iran's military budget, okay, according to the West. All right. Allocating the money wrong. According to AI Overview, Iran's military budget has increasingly, with estimates from the 2023 to 2024 period ranging from $10 billion to over $25 billion. Now, we're talking about $10 to $25 billion versus 1.5 to $3 trillion. Who is mismanaging funds and who is ignoring the will of the people and who is pushing more radical ideology than Hegseth in the U.S.? I'm asking these things. Let's go a little further. All right, everybody, I'm going to the chat in a minute. I'm going to the chat. Shout out to Joel Bradford in the building. I do see you there. Shout out. Let's see. M. Sparks is in the building. But I just want you to listen. Hey, Bubba said, you'll get it, Rashid. I'm trying to understand, and you know I'm dumb as a rock when it comes to the technology, okay? So I thank you for being patient with me. Let's go further. All right, it says, the defense buildup. Hayksworth have described supercharging the American defense industrial base as a primary goal aimed at accelerating production to meet the 21st century threats. Now, okay, let's go to something. All right, this is what mean. Let's see, meaning. Let's go to here. Meaning. Okay, according to and the AI overview, supercharging generally means to increase the power, speed, or intensity of something, typically by providing, listen to this, typically by providing an excessive amount of energy or pressure. Well, if Hayksworth is talking about, Hayksworth stated that for generations to come, the United States will remain the most powerful, capable, and lethal military in the world. Defense industrial base, Hayksworth has described supercharging. How do you supercharge that? Huh? With funding, right? So that means you have to supercharge it through super amounts of funding from the government. Is that not right? Am I overstepping? Am I following the definition of things right? Okay. Now it says warrior ethos. He has emphasized returning to the military to a warrior ethos, focusing on combat readiness, lethality, and meritocracy over, as he described it, wokeness and administrative bureaucracy. Meaning, let me get all the rules out of the way. Let's not even pretend anymore. We're going to use brute military force to try to maintain our position as the global hegemon. Now, since we have an understanding of that, right? We have an understanding of what he's a Christian Zionist, right? They are talking about spending more money than the entire world combined. Listen to what I just said. The entire world combined to supercharge an already declining American military and industrial base, right? And then he goes and he beats Iran down for spending between 10 and $25 billion according to Western estimates, right? Not 25 trillion, not 200, not even 100 billion, not 250 billion, but 10 to 25 billion dollars in expenses when America is multiples over that. So, according to the dictionary, when we look at what Hayksworth said, when we hear what Hayksworth said on video, and then when we read what he said, the news reports, and then when we go and dissect them through the definitions, we come to one word that fits both he, his boss, and his colleagues to the T. And the word is hypocrite. And according to the definition of the word hypocrite, according to the AI overview, a hypocrite is a person who pretends to have virtues, moral beliefs, or principles that they do not actually possess, often acting in contradiction to their stated beliefs. Right? They say they want peace. How do they want it? Through strength. What strength? Being able to force the world to cower down to American exceptionalism. They say they want America first. Yet they're spending money on weapons and weapon systems that don't work, that are only alienating more people, allies and enemies alike, to try to formulate a plan and a order outside of American dominance. They're saying that they want a strong dollar while they are spending money so much so that one of the reports that I read said that you could stack America's debt and go almost to Pluto back and back. Man, that's absolutely crazy. One report said that you could stack it and go to the moon and back multiple times. Man, that's a hell of a debt, right? So, the definition of hypocrite also means it describes someone who acts insincerely. We see that. Lecturing others, isn't that what he did? On standards they fail to follow themselves, such as advocating environmentalism while driving a gas guzzling car. Now, this part of the definition is important. Shout out to M Sparks for the $2 super chat. I really appreciate it. But listen, I'm going to play that clip for you again, but with this in mind, with this definition in mind, especially the second part. We're going to read the first part first. Then we're going to emphasize the second part of the definition. And I want you to hold this definition in mind when you look at the video again of Pete Hegseth trying to lecture everybody else on what they should and should not do. Okay? And remember the dollar signs being spent and being allocated for war of aggression around the globe. So the word hypocrite, again, according to AI Overview, means a person who pretends to have virtues, moral beliefs, or principles that they do not actually possess, often acting in contradiction to their stated beliefs. It describes someone who acts insincerely, commonly lecturing others on standards they fail to follow themselves, such as advocating environmentalism while driving a gas guzzling car. Now, since we have that definition, okay, which is very important, let's then go back and revisit that clip that we just played.
To that point on capabilities, Iran's an energy-rich country, could be, should be. Instead, like so many other places driven by a radical ideology, they've spent that money instead of investing in their people. That's why you had millions of Iranians protesting, because they felt like their quality of life didn't match what it could be or should be. And what was the Iranian state? There's a reason we call Iran the #1 state sponsor of terrorism, because they took the money they make and they invest it in tunnels, and they invested in missiles, and they invested in launchers and UAVs, and we are destroying and degrading that in historic proportions. But it doesn't mean they won't still have some and try to hold people at issue, which is why we're fighting every single day to continue to compel. And you mentioned embassies and consulates. Unlike previous administrations, we are doubling and tripling down on ensuring that our people, regardless of their Department of War, Department of State, whatever they do, are secure in those facilities. And the best defense is a good offense. And so we're not afraid to go after and kill anybody, and we have a lot of them attempting to target our diplomatic facilities. Iran, we're not surprised that they would indiscriminately target, and we're still seeing that.
So you see the hypocrisy. Does not that definition fit the definition of who he is, his boss is, and his colleagues are? Hypocrites, right? Shout out to and I'm the thing is jumping, so I'm just going to where it's at right now. Iran did well. Flying Crocodile said Iran did well not to take the bait as the U.S. drew out the cargo ship interception for 6 hours, hoping Iran would attack their ships, and they could use that as a excuse to escalate righteously. Well, according to Iran, let me pull it up because I was reading this earlier. The only reason Iran said that they did not strike, let me pull this up. I was reading it. They must have moved it. Iran says the only reason that they did not strike is because the ship had family members of the crew on, and they did not want to lose civilian lives. But they said that they are preparing a response. They are going to respond. This is what was said by the foreign ministry. This was said by the RGC command, and this was also said by the parliament. Galibaf. So things are heating up. But what again, because of the economics. Listen, my son put something in here for my from my sister. I knew she was gonna say something. You're so dumb, you dumb as a brick, and your oldest sister, she's gonna fight you. I knew my sister would be watching this and saying this. Solar bears in the building. Let's see. Let's see. Pedro says, but I can't remember his name. But the last Iranian foreign minister, foreign secretary, did his PhD in Sharia law in Scotland. What is his name? I know it. Just like I'll just pull it up. I forget his name. Former Iranian foreign minister. Zarif. That's who you're talking about, Zarif. Yeah. Muhammad Javed Zarif. That's who you're talking about. Goku double 089 says, but I can't remember his. Wait, hold on. It's still. Oh, come on now. Okay, here it is. You're right on point, Rashid, and you're my favorite person to tell the truth. Everybody hates the truth. I appreciate that. I really do. Shout out again to my guy. I got to highlight this guy, M Sparks, for the $2 super chat. Now, we have an understanding of that. We have a very good understanding of the hypocrisy, all right, and the hypocrisy that the West is willing to go through to get their point across. This is what I'm saying to you all. They are trying to make a statement. You understand? I don't think you do. The empire is hurt so bad, but they're trying to make a statement. Let me give you the analogy that I often give on the show. Remember, I talk about boxing, right? Okay. When a champion has been hurt, he doesn't want to let on to the opponent that punch was really hard, right? And that his knees is kind of wobbling. So what he does is he sticks his tongue out, does a little shake a little bit, and then tries to go on the offense as to throw the opponent off and not let the opponent know that one or two more punches can bring him to his knees, right? And so he's very careful. Sometimes he's very careful, and he's in his return punches, blocking, coming like that, so that the opponent that just hurt him bad, won't realize the depths of how badly wounded he is. This is where America, the empire, stands right now. So she's trying to send a signal to the world that I'm still the preeminent power. As nations are exiting the dollar, she's saying there'll be hell to pay. If you want to wreck my position as the global hegemon, then I'm going to start acting like a pariah, open pariah. I'm going to act like a pirate. I'm seizing ships. I don't care who it pisses off or who it offends. You see, we just kidnapped the sitting head of state, and you see, it didn't go how we planned it to go. So now, guess what we're going to do? We're going to try to weaken Russia by going after Cuba. That's the one. We're going into Nigeria. If that's not happening, try to destabilize the Horn of Africa and all around that way. If that's not enough, we're going to go into Syria. We're going to let Israel go with Lebanon. We're going to destabilize the entire, we're going to burn it down if we can't rule. And we're going to see who rules over the ashes. This is what's going on with the American empire. And why? It goes back to time. The measurement of what this person had. Remember what I told you? Everybody's about there is a scramble for resources, right? Everybody talks about the petrol you won or the petrol dollar. America is trying to keep her hegemonic position through the petrol dollar. So she's trying to take over places that are rich in water, rich in fertile land, rich in oil, rich in gas, rich in minerals, rich in rare earths. But the most important thing that she's trying to do is buy time. Time is the most precious commodity and resource It is an unrenewable resource. Once you have used up your time, you can never get it back. Never. And she understands that she is past the twilight of empire. So what she's doing, she's trying to go after those who are in a position to replace her, or who are moving in a position to replace her as a counterweight or alternative to her position, to buy time for the empire. Because she is on her last leg. Think about this. A $39 trillion public debt. A destroyed tax base that she has. No industrial base outside of the military, which is not pushing anything. As a matter of fact, she's in such a dire position that they have come. Matter of fact, let me Google something for you guys to prove what I'm saying. U.S. I got my emails, but I want orders. To prepare to make weapons. Let's see. All right, let me see if this will come up. All right, here we are, right here. To show you I'm not lying. I just put in these words right here. U.S. orders car companies to prepare to make weapons. It's the AI overview says this. The Trump administration has reportedly approached major American automakers to request they prepare to shift a portion of their production capacity towards military weapons and supplies. This move is intended to bolster national defense stocks depleted by ongoing conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East. What is she trying to do? Buy time. Right? Isn't this what she did in World War II? The difference is she was heads and shoulders above everybody in technology, except for Germany. She was heads and shoulders above everybody economically. And her industrial base, because the rest of the world was left devastated, the rest of the world had to depend on America's industrial base. But now she's debt burdened. She has little to no industrial or manufacturing capacity. She cannot, look what's happening in Ukraine. She has been out-manufactured, not just America, but the entirety of Europe and the NATO base have been out-manufactured, military components and weapons and stuff, by Russia. Now, Russia's manufacturing capacity is dwarfed by that of China. It's happening in West Asia. America had to cry uncle for a ceasefire because they had depleted their JDAMs and their long-range strike missiles that were coming into Iran from over Iraq and from over Jordan and from over other areas of the nations that were not too friendly to Iran. So this is why you had all these strikes. Notice that those strikes started thinning out, right? Especially when America was forced to move her carrier groups out of the Persian Gulf. So she had to cry uncle, come up with some type of plan to buy time to do what? According to what this AI overview says. The Trump administration has reportedly approached major American automakers to request they prepare to shift a portion of their production capacity towards military weapons and supplies. Now we ask the question, why? And it answers. This move is intended to bolster national defense stocks depleted by ongoing conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East or West Asia. Now, let's go to something. All right? So that we can get a better understanding. The word depleted, according to the dictionary, according to the AI overview on Google, depleted describes something that has been emptied, used up, or significantly reduced in amount, strength, or. Now, we have an understanding of why America is trying to buy time. Because she is not America from World War I. She's not America from World War II. She's not even America from the Korean fiasco or from Vietnam. Nations have grown in capabilities. Nations have grown in strategic thinking and strategic depth. Asymmetry is showing what America has are legacy systems. So now she has to make the best of what she has in an untenable situation. So what does she do? The 3 R's of empire. And now you're hearing a lot of people starting to say it in some other form or fashion, but I've been telling you this. The 3 R's of empire. To rest, rearm, and recalibrate. This is what she's doing. Right? Everybody, you know what I'm saying is absolutely the truth. Right? I'm telling you guys the truth. All right. So this is because time is not on our side. Let's go to something. This is an article that came out yesterday. I'm not going to put it on the screen, but you can go to rt.com and the article is supply chains breaking. Just put that in the search engine in rt.com. Okay. Supply chains breaking, and you can read it along with me. All right. Sometimes I do this on purpose. I know I could put all the stuff on the screen, but sometimes when you want something, you're willing to make the effort to get it. And sometimes I try to force people to do a little bit of the work too, so that they can see whether or not I'm misleading them. All right. So that when you're dealing with other people, you'll know how to handle them, so that no one gets over on you. So sometimes I purposely don't put stuff up on the screen and tell you exactly what to do to get to where I'm at on these articles, to see if you will put in the legwork to do it. So listen, and that should show you that I am careful when it comes to the truth, and that I'm trying to elevate people mentally and spiritually, and not try to take advantage of anybody. Okay? Now, the article is titled Supply Chains Breaking. And I haven't read the article or anything. I just saved it. It says the hidden bottlenecks threatening to bring the global economy to a standstill. And the first sentence says the oil price is just the tip of the iceberg that could cause major problems across the globe. The surge in oil prices in light of the war on Iran has grabbed most of the headlines. For many observers, the severity of the crisis is measurable in the daily changes in the Brent ticker, Brent crude oil, right? It says some analysts have also begun pointing to emerging stress in fertilizer markets. Remember, I had been telling you guys about this before they started really talking about this. But beneath these familiar markers, several less visible and in some cases more systemic signals are now flashing red. RT takes a look at the ominous signs that don't always show up in the news. Naphtha. Naphtha, a feeding stock for petrochemicals, is a classic behind-the-scenes actor. Rarely in the headlines, naphtha is critical to the production of much modern technology, not to mention a whole host of everyday plastics, car parts, medical supplies, packaging, you name it. It sits at the base of the petrochemical supply chain, which can wreak havoc if it's not in supply. So what exactly is naphtha? Naphtha. It is a liquid hydrocarbon mixture derived from the distillation of crude oil. It is then cracked at extreme temperatures to extract ethylene and propylene, which is upstream from a slew of chemical processes that produce the high purity chemicals, solvents, and plastics that are used in numerous industries, including and supporting inputs in semiconductor manufacturing. Because naphtha is not a core chip material input itself, its role is often overlooked. Now, stop right there. We're not going to go through the whole article because it talks about aluminum. It talks about diesel, right? It talks about cracks spreading. It talks about helium. I just want you to sulfur. It talks about all of those things that are now in critical short supply, right? That are needed for a proficient and prosperous economy, a local economy, a national economy, and a global economy. All of those things are in short supply because of these wars of choice. And they are wars of choice, but at the same time, they're not wars of choice because America understands that without these moves that she's making, she cannot maintain empire. So she's throwing Hail Marys. It's fourth. Let me give you a football analogy. It is fourth down in 57 yards to go with 1 second on the clock. So we're looking at America throwing a Hail Mary, hoping for the best, but also understanding that it's most likely going to be the worst. So instead of her saying, you know what, let me change my actions at this moment and try to make amends with the nations that I've done wrong, the people that I've suppressed and oppressed within her borders and outside of her borders. Because of the arrogance and hubris, and because of the short-sightedness, because she can't see beyond her own ego, she continues to make miscalculated moves, which only constrains the American empire more. This is what's going on. So she's being forced to make these erratic, illogical, unsound geopolitical moves because time is against her. Do you understand? I hope you do. And so she's preparing to wreck the entire world if she can't rule over it. People say, oh, no, America can't do it. She wouldn't do that. And I say to you, show me a policy that she's initiated that says she won't do it. Show me any military move that she's making right now and has made that proves to me that she won't do it. And she's not in the process of moving like that. Forget about what we think and what we want it to be, the sweet by and by and all of that stuff. Look at the actions. Measure her words by the actions that she takes. I'm going to upgrade my nuclear potential. I'm going to prevent any other nation from the most deadliest weapons. Why? Because if they acquire them, can't blackmail them. Is she embargoing North Korea? Why? Because North Korea said that they would take that as an act of war. And they would use everything at their disposal to defend their sovereignty. And I'm asking you, is she over there embargoing North Korea? Because contrary to a lot of you, North Korea was one of the prizes that America looked at. Most people didn't even look at this situation. So I'm going to tell you why North Korea was one of the prizes that America looked at. And this is why she put so much pressure on North Korea. And this is why she tried to keep North Korea from getting nuclear weapons. Okay? They did a study on North Korea. North Korea has huge untapped oil and gas reserves. Go Google what I'm saying. Not only that, they have huge untapped gold. And guess what else? They have a huge amount of untapped rare earths. Now check this out. When they bargained with North Korea, they wanted to put, quote unquote, U.S. inspectors and UN inspectors, which are Western inspectors, in there to monitor, but also to find out who they can bribe and the dissatisfied, as they do with all countries. So then that they could fund them over time for an uprising. at the proper time. And if they would have put more pressure on the North Korean government before getting nuclear weapons, guess what would have happened? The North Korean government may have collapsed. That's what they were planning. If you think I'm not telling the truth, go Google some of their own sentiments when they said that they were pushing for the collapse of the North Korean government. Why? Because their puppet government in South Korea would then go in and take over. And guess what this would mean? That then the United States would have direct access to Russia's border and China's border, because North Korea borders both nations. This is where America was trying to put pressure. Think about that. To have Japan as a backup, to have North Korea right on China and Russia's border, to have the Philippines, right? And then she would be able to cower all of the other nations in Asia. Right? And then you would, and this right here, the movement against Iran, you would have seen it even deeper, because now Russia and China would be completely surrounded. And what does America do when she thinks she has you under the gun? She then makes up a threat so that she can then deploy weapons, offensive weapons, so that she can have you ringed with defense systems and offensive systems, right? That was her goal. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I'm sorry I'm not overlooking everybody in the chat. I just wanted to bring this, let's see, Dave says Iran will respond with an Article 51 at the time and place of their choosing. Faye Lewis in the building. Isn't it funny, just one day after fake PhD Zhang said Japan's Blue Water Navy, best in Asia, would blockade the Malacca Strait to prevent China from reunifying Taiwan. This is what I'm going to tell everybody who's not familiar with what's going to go on. Okay, I know China and Japan has their history, right? I understand that South Korea and Japan has their history. I understand a lot of these Asian nations have their history. But listen to what I'm saying. And what I'm saying doesn't add up, or if it doesn't hold any weight, just dismiss it. There's no need for argument. There's no need for nothing. Okay? Listen to what I'm saying. And I've said this long before they attacked Persia. I said America was going to attack Persia. This would signal the beginning, the downward spiral of the American empire. And in this war, Iran will give as good as it takes. Didn't I say that over and over again? For those of you who are not new people here, why am I saying this in relation to what's going on in Asia? Because there's a connection here. There will be navies, foreign navies, foreign, not domestic, foreign navies, as I told you, that will be there. And their whole job is to push America out of West Asia, to push them out. Aren't we seeing China with a base in Djibouti? Aren't we seeing, hearing that China is now thinking about deploying more assets to that area? Didn't Russia deploy a few ships there? It didn't say domestic warships. It said foreign, right? What is happening to America? She's being exposed now by a regional power. And look at what's happened. Iran is saying that the new paradigm is that America will not be allowed to have these military bases surrounding her, right? Whether America wants to or not. What has happened to at least 27 military bases? Iran has destroyed them or put them in such a position that they cannot be reconstituted as viable military installations, right? So what does that mean for America? She's being constrained and being pushed out of that she was dominated in, right? Didn't that happen? That not just America, but the UK too. They're going to be pushed out of West Asia. And while they're a weakened state, I said what was going to happen? That you would see Russia and China pushing in. What are they doing? Giving us satellite intelligence, giving her weapons, giving a heads up. They have a strategy together that each foreign minister talks to each other on an almost daily basis. They send ambassadors to each other. They have secured phone lines. All of this that's going on. This is by no coincidence because this is tied to Asia. Why? Because when they see that America has been defeated or almost defeated by Iran, that's when China will then really assert itself as the preeminent power in Asia. Now look what I'm telling you. If what I'm saying goes for nothing, then why is China now talking about, and they just put this out there. They might not be serious about it, but they put it out there. Maybe they should start blockading the Taiwan Strait for international traffic because Taiwan is considered part of China. Why are they now saying that they may deploy more ships to the Malacca Strait? Why are they saying that they may close off the South China Sea? Right? Now, listen to me good. Now, this goes back to Japan. China and Japan has their beef. But I'm going to go out on a limb again, and I'm going to tell you this, that when America and China go to war, all of America's Asian allies are going to see it, including Japan. And when China starts beating the flip-flops off of America, which she will do, she's going to roll over Australia like a parking lot, like I told you. If you don't think what I'm saying is true, then why is America now building infrastructure bases in Australia if this is what part of her plan to dominate Asia? Okay. When this happens in the Asian nations that are under the guise and under the thumb of America, see this happening, they're going to start remembering that all of the atrocities committed by America. When stuff happens to America, doesn't America remember the atrocities committed to her? She won't let you forget about 9/11, will she? Huh? But you got to forget about the atrocities that she committed against you. She went on a world rampage over 9/11, which is an inside job. Right? You don't think Japan, that was nuked not once but twice, is going to remember that? You don't think that Japan is going to remember how Trump insulted the Japanese prime minister when she came to America? You don't think the South Koreans are going to remember on a daily basis? This doesn't get reported in the news, but on a daily basis for years, the South Korean people have been protesting America's presence in Korea. You don't believe that, right? And you don't think these people are tired of that. I remember watching on RT. This was some years ago. Maybe if they ever bring RT back up, or you could go through the history of RT. I was listening to a former Japanese prime minister. And he was talking about how China and Japan can get along behind closed doors. And he was talking about how their relationship would be great. And they could settle their dispute on the Diaoyu Islands, or what else? I think the Japanese call it the Senkaku Islands, right? They could settle that. He said, and they came close to doing it. But when the Japanese went ahead without consulting America, at the time, the American military, along with the political leadership, called in the Japanese leadership and told them to mind what they're doing, and told them that if they were to concede this to them, then America would take all of Okinawa from Japan. This was the Japanese prime minister, a former Japanese prime minister, said that on RT. I'm not making this up. If you can go, I don't know what happened. You know, they banned RT off of YouTube and all of this stuff. But prior to them banning it, the Japanese prime minister said that. A former prime minister said that. So if he is saying that, and he said that a year or two before he was banned, RT was banned, you don't think other people in Japan are thinking that? And they celebrate, they go to the shrine where the people were bombed twice? Come on. I tell you what, let's look at this in human terms. Forget governments, forget nationality. Let's look at this in human terms. Would you fight on the side of a person that went into your house and raped and killed your family? if that person starts to get into it with a person that you had a beef with next door? Would you jump in it? If you're going to jump in it, you're going to jump in it on the side of the person that lives close to you, right? This is what I'm saying to you. This is why China says that this is going to be a new paradigm. This is why all of these people are saying what we're entering is a new paradigm. This is not the old politics. Because America is not in a position to dominate as she once was. Time is against her, as it is. Matter of fact, let's go a little further, since we're talking about this. All right? We talk about the erratic behavior of these people, okay? Everybody for joining me. I'm serious. I really, really appreciate Perseverance Chameleon in the building. And yeah, I really, really appreciate all of you for joining me on this platform. Exponent Zero is in the building. Let's see, man, this thing is jumping. Papushka is in the building. Man, come on, man. Slow the flip down. Oh, this is jumping. I'm gonna have to wait for the comments to settle down for a second. But let's go to something real quick. All right, I'm gonna play something for you.
Let me give you the answer as an American. I love my country. It is a good country. It's led by morons, but it is a good country. There is a sense in America right now that the United States makes decisions at the behest of the Israeli government, not at the behest of the American government, and certainly not at the behest of the American people. 70 to 80% of the people in America do not want this war and have said so in every single poll that has been taken. So this action against Iran is not being done because the American people want it or need it. It's being done for other reasons. So that leads us to this question then, right, Yoon? This question. Why are they doing it? And what is the motivation that got them to do it? Two things. One, yes, the obvious argument. The administrative state and the neocons are tied to Israel, always have been. Obama was, Clinton was, they all were. And they're going to just continue to do this because they're working for the neocons, et cetera, and the administrative state. Two, there's a specific tie between this administration, Mr. Trump, and the Israeli government, because the Israeli government, through Mrs. Adelson, has given, and her husband, have given Mr. Trump $300 million cash. If you gave me $300 million cash, who knows what I would do or what you would do, okay? Three, Epstein. There is a whole lot of information that the government of the United States is trying to redact and not let the people know about in terms of what Mr. Trump's connections were to Mr. Epstein.
So now you get why the files are behind me. The files and Mr. Epstein right here and Mr. Trump right here or here. And then you see the warplanes in the air. You see the missile shooting. You see the Iranian flag on one side. You see a U.S. carrier group behind me. Because I'm sending out subliminal as well as verbal messages to you to try to inform you of what's going on. Matter of fact, let's play one more clip on this matter right here. All right.
Why'd they say there was thousands of hours of tapes of people doing horrible? Why did they say that? They can lie about all kinds of things. And this is today with the internet. You know, like, look, where's the Epstein files? Boo, can't find them. Don't exist. Like, they can get away with man.
Oh, yeah.
I think what is enraging people right now is it's insulting our intelligence. Like, obviously, the intelligence community is trying to cover it up. Obviously, the Trump administration is trying to cover up. Something changed because they ran on this idea of exposing it all.
The current DOJ under Pam Bondi is covering up crimes, very serious crimes by their own description. Why are they doing that?
At the events, you don't drink, and you don't drink or smoke, right?
I don't drink or smoke.
You never have. You know what I'm saying? You're like,
yeah, everybody in politics has a vice that's much worse than alcoholism is the way that I put it. But we
release the list.
Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list. That is an important thing.
I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say let them have it.
The president said today you would release credible files related to Mr. Epstein. Are you prepared to do that, and when would you do it?
Our memo today, our memo speaks for itself, and we'll get back to you on anything else. I haven't seen all of his statements today. Thank you.
How would you respond to the MAGA base that has expressed a lot of frustration about it?
We're going to fight to keep America safe again, and we're fighting together as a team. That's what's so important right now.
So she did not answer the question, right? And Trump, on one hand, he says, we're going to release all the files. On the other, oh, these are made up files. Oh, this such and such. Oh, I had no connection. Then you see him in the videos. Then you see him mentioned over 1,000 times, I believe, in the Epstein files. Multiple trips to the island. Epstein chilling at his Mar-a-Lago spot. You don't think, and this man, Epstein, is a Mossad agent. You don't think they have some on him? I'm asking. You don't think so? And not just that, but what did Sheldon Elderson's, I think that's his name, wife say? Trump is the first Jewish president, right? She's says she doesn't follow protocol. She'll just come to the White House, right? Is that a sign of respect? When Trump was in the Situation Room, he didn't sit at the head of the Situation table. And I pointed this out when Obama was in the presidency, and when they supposedly killed bin Laden. And you can see everybody else over at the table, and he's sitting in the side. Obama's sitting on the side like this, in a side chair. You're the president of the United States, right? Hell, you sitting across from somebody that's not your equal. Huh? So we see this erratic behavior. According to the definition, the AI overview of erratic means, and this describes them to a T, not just Trump, but the entire White House, Pentagon, State Department, all of it. Erratic is an adjective. Let me get a little water real quick. Dry mouth. Erratic is an adjective, describes behavior, movement, or performance that is unpredictable, inconsistent, irregular, or wandering, lacking a fixed course. It refers to things that deviate from the normal, expected, or steady pattern. What? And then they give you some examples. Behavior. The owner's behavior has become erratic over the past few weeks. Does that not fit administration? I'm asking. Because these are questions that should be asked, right? And now let's listen else. Because all of this is connected there. The war, the economics, everything. But I want you to just listen to this, okay?
Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene, I have to ask you if you believe that the president thought he was depicting himself as a doctor, not Jesus, in that post.
No, absolutely not. I thought that was blasphemy. As a Christian, I was very offended. And a doctor, President Trump is not a doctor. And that picture had him in a robe, as Jesus is often portrayed, with light coming out of his hands. And he talked about healing people like a Red Cross worker. I think there would be many people that would argue with that, saving lives. So I think it was blasphemy. I was offended. I think he should apologize, not act defensive. And many Christians across America and the world were very offended by that.
Guys, I'm sorry. My screen was going down. It says my virus blocker is up. I'm being hit with multiple viruses or whatever blocker. So we're gonna have to deal with that for a minute. Now, she said Trump seems to be full of himself. which means egotistical, right? According to the AI overview of the word egotistical, it describes a person with an inflated sense of self-importance characterized by excessive conceit, boastfulness, and a selfish focus on their own needs of superiority, right? What did he say? I've already solved 8 wars. I should have the peace prize. I'll do this. Iran better make peace. If they don't, there are going to be some bad things. We've already done this, and we have the greatest, most powerful military in the world. I rebuilt the military. If it wasn't for me, such and such and such and such, right? The word egotistical means what? It describes a person with an inflated sense of self-importance characterized by excessive conceit, boastfulness, and a selfish focus on their own needs or superiority. It indicates a tendency to think one is better than others, often disregarding other people's feelings. Is this not what Goluboff says? That America cannot come to terms that other people have legitimate rights and interests, and they want to govern themselves in the manner which best fits them. Is that not right? Is that not what President Putin said? Is that not what Wang Yi, the foreign minister of China, had been talking about? What about the former foreign minister, I think her name is Pandara, of South Africa? I thought she was one of the best foreign ministers out there, and she was on the level with Wang Yi and Lavrov. Isn't that what they were saying? Isn't that what the president of Venezuela, not Venezuela, but the president of Brazil is saying? Everybody is saying the same thing. Even people who were in the MAGA camp who have moved out, aren't they saying that this man has an elevated ego? Aren't they saying that about Pete Hicks, of how he used to get drunk, womanizing, fighting people, and had to be held back because he was drunk? This is the so-called Christian dude who was cheating on it, and it's not none of my business, because I don't. If his wife didn't complain, I ain't complaining. You understand? I'm not bringing up the flaws, but I'm showing you the hypocrisy of these people, the erratic behavior of these people, and the self-conceit of they are megalomaniacs. How in the hell could you think that Trump was for you when he filled his cabinet with 14 billionaires? Now, I ask the question to any sane, rational, or sound person: when has billionaires been concerned with the people that they feed upon? Huh? And you don't just talk about yourself as a billionaire. You got 14 other billionaires in your cabinet. Will they make policies that are beneficial to the people that they fleece and that they become they are like parasites to? Or will they make policies that benefit the rich? This is not a scientific question. This is a common sense matter, right? Let's go a little further. So now, this is about maybe 20 seconds, if that long. This is what my associate, my colleague, Gregory Manarino, who will be on the show on the 28th of this month. Greg will be on the platform the 28th. All right. But this is what he had to say on his Substack.
Nations are going to make the United States rich. They're paying the tariffs. No, that's not how it works. But Trump, that's what Trump wanted his people on the very low IQ side of the spectrum. Yay! Nations are going to pay for our tariffs. Hey, we're all going to be rich. Well, guess who actually paid for them? Well, yeah, you did in the end, of course. And guess who's getting made whole? The corporations who paid at the border, not you. No, you don't get a freaking dime. But these corporations are getting billions, tens of billions in tariff buybacks, returns, where you get the shaft dry. But that's what happens in Trump land. Yeah. Guys, he has to go, man. This guy's got to go. He's got
This man, I know you guys are seeing what I'm seeing, right? And all of this is used in fair use. And Greg told me I could use his clips and stuff. So YouTube don't start tripping about all of this stuff, because I'm using this to bring out news points. Okay? I'm not infringing upon anybody's copyright. I am trying to bring points home that are overlooked. And I have to use that as an educational tool to inform people who may have missed the underlying meaning of things. Okay? Now, Greg just told you that, right? The people are getting the shaft. Real quick. We talked about the supply chains breaking down, right? There's an article on there's multiple articles, excuse me, on the economic collapse blog, right? And it says this right here. This came out April 14th, and I think it's something that you should read. All right. It says, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read the title, because I'm going to scroll up and read a few more titles. This says, largest food producing nations on the entire planet may soon be forced to ration fuel. Think about that. Think about that. If you are one of the largest food producing nations, and you are a modern food producing nation, and that you need fuel to run your machineries to produce that food, if you have to ration fuel, what happens to your food production? And if your food production goes down, prices go up, the value of your money goes down, so you need more money to buy less food, right? Right? All because of Trump and the other presidents also, because this is a continuation of policies that were already thought about through think tanks and stuff. So look at the next article by Michael Schneider. This is April 15th. 70% of U.S. farmers say that they will not be able to purchase all the fertilizer that they need in 2026. Now, I'm going to tell you why this is a big deal. Because we have already entered planting season. And if they don't have the fertilizer for the food to plant the seeds that grows the food, guess what happens? There's a shortage of food. If there's a shortage of food, guess what happens? Then you don't need as many trucks to transport the food, which means that truckers will be unemployed, which means that companies will cut their overhead, which means that then the profit margin would be smaller, which means that the loans that the companies took out for their trucking company, for the fuel and for the gas, guess what? Will not be repaid. So now you have farmers going belly up. You have truckers and cargo shipping going belly up. You have massive unemployment. You have store shelves that are empty, which means that now the stores have to cut their overhead, which means more unemployment, which means that more belly up or bankruptcy happens, which means that banks will be shafted. And guess what happens to some of those banks? They shutter and close, which means that an economic downward spiral turns into a tornado. You understand? It goes further. April 16th, the title of the article is Prices for Physical Oil and Fertilizer Go Absolutely Nuts as a Summer of Shortages Loom on the Horizon. What does that mean for you guys? What does that mean for the world? That means we're staring in the abyss of a global famine. Do you understand that? I should hope that you understand just what is going on. And you can all see it happening. Go to your markets right now. You remember the Dollar Tree? And then when they were forced to go, or they said they were forced to go up on prices, right? First, they tried to mask the inflation by compressing or compacting the packages. Then they started not just compacting it, they started taking one or two out of each package, right? Then they couldn't mask it anymore, so they went up to a quarter. And I remember, you can Google this, that the CEO of Dollar Tree said that they would not ever raise prices again. And then they went up to $1.50. And then to mask that, you know what they did? They then brought in stuff that people would say, okay, I'll pay $5 for that, or $7 for that, or $10 for that. They then they were masking that they could no longer hold the $1.25 and $1.50 prices. So they brought in higher price goods so that they can justify upping the price on the dollar goods and squeezing it into smaller packages. That's inflation. Actually, that's hyperinflation. You understand? And now look where we are now. If you go into stores on a daily basis, the prices go haywire. They are haywire. Food is doubling and tripling. If food doubles, when something doubles, what is that? 100%, right? 100% inflation is what? Hyperinflation, right? You don't have to wait for hyperinflation to come. If you were paying $1 for something a month ago, and that's inflation. That's hyperinflation. You are paying double the amount, which means that you're paying twice the amount. You're no longer paying $1, you're paying $2. That's hyperinflation. Nobody talks about this. And yet they want you to believe that America will remain as a viable global pole of power. So now we go further. The next article, it says April 19th. The U.S. Navy just blew a giant hole in an Iranian cargo ship as the crisis in the Strait of Hormuz escalates to an entirely new level. Now, think about this. If Iran can close off the Arabian Gulf if they want to. They can close off the Persian Gulf. They can close off the Gulf of Oman. They can close off the Red Sea. They can close off the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, right? And if they wanted to, even though America does no trading in the Caspian Sea, with Russia's permission, they could do that. Now, what does that mean? That means 20 to 25% of all goods, fertilizers, helium, everything else is off the market on a daily basis, which means that now we're in an economic, not recession, because we've already recessed so many times. You're going to have to start calling it what it is. An economic depression. How can you fight a war with 39 trillion in debt, over 666 trillion in true debt, a derivative market of over $5 quadrillion, no manufacturing base, a declining industrial base, a declining tax base, and ignorant, ineptitude leadership? How does that work out for you? Tell me that. How does that work out for you? So now we go up again to the article that I really wanted to get to. And it says April 21st by Michael Schneider. Okay? In this article states Florida orange production down 95%. You know, Florida is the state of the oranges, right? And all of the buy fruits that come along with that. It says Florida orange production down 95%. U.S. cattle herd smallest since 1951, and winter wheat is suffocated by severe drought. Now you put that on top of everything that we just discussed, and you tell me how in the hell can America maintain her position as a global power? You tell me how in the world can America fight these wars all around the world? She's caught in a catch-22. If she doesn't fight the wars, the empire comes tumbling down. If she does fight the wars, the empire comes tumbling down. But who put her in that position? It wasn't just Trump. It was the entire system. The systemic racist, fascist, greedy, unjust, system that feeds upon the masses of the people. It needs debt to continue going. All right? Listen, we're not going off. I want to show you just how bad things are, okay? I'm gonna play this clip for you. You guys pay close attention to this. This is about 4 or 5 minutes. I think it's 4 or 5 minutes. It might be 6. If it's a little bit longer than 4 or 5 minutes, just have patience with me because I want to get these points across to you guys, okay? And also, I want to say this. It doesn't cost you a thing to hit the like button. It doesn't cost you 1 penny to hit the like button. If you're going to do something, do that. Show support for the channel because they do everything they can to sabotage. Okay? Hit the like button and consider subscribing. If you don't want to consider subscribing, that's cool too. But I would like for you to consider subscribing. We don't have to agree on everything. We can be agreeable to disagree. But intelligent discourse is what builds minds, right? This is why you're supposed to go to school, to get differing opinions, so that as you grow older and you grow stronger mentally, you can then present your own opinion, your own perspective of things. That's all I'm saying. So consider subscribing and sharing. Also, please hit that like button. I want you to listen to this, okay?
That says fresh reports claim that thousands of food-laden packages sent to U.S. Marines in the Middle East are stuck in limbo. Photos taken on the American warships surrounding Iran show lunch trays that are 2/3 empty. Servicemen's families have tried to send care packages, but are finding that parcels have been left sitting in post offices. That's the result of the U.S. Postal Service suspending deliveries to 27 military zip codes across the Middle East. The hunger-inducing images have gone viral.
Well, there is nothing to eat. What's going on there?
Is it a tiny portion of chopped steak?
There's no way they can hold on like this.
Obviously, and that's the problem. In fact, the Americans have faced real challenges. They can't seem to do regular shifts. And look at the stewardship and logistics plan. How do you want the crew to hold on to morale in these conditions?
Well, relatives of those on board and the Marines themselves say morale is falling from a lack of nutrition.
We have the strongest military in the world. You shouldn't be running out of food, and you shouldn't not be able to get mail on the ship.
Morale is going to be at an all-time low.
And despite the viral images, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and the U.S. Navy claim there are more than enough food supplies available.
My team confirmed the logistics stats for the Lincoln and Tripoli. Both have 30-plus days of first-class supplies, food on board. NavCent monitors this every day for every ship.
Fresh meals, full service, mission ready. Sailors aboard USS Abraham Lincoln and USS Tripoli continue to receive regularly prepared meals at sea. No interruptions, no shortages.
Well, for more on this, we're joined by Christopher Hilali, academic, researcher, and international secretary of the American Communist Party. Mr. Hilali, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the most powerful military in the world cannot get food to its sailors. What does this tell you about the current planning within the Pentagon?
Well, I don't think there's much of a plan to begin with. I think that this is all, sort of fly by the seat, sort of a Texas shootout, so to speak. And the Trump administration are acting like those cowboys from the old days. And sadly, there's no plan, there's no structure. It's tweet or Truth Social, and that's what they're doing. And they're making policy as they go. And clearly, you see that the logistics are breaking down. Logistics are breaking down because a lot of these troops are being deployed from one region of the world to another without the proper support that they need. The administration clearly doesn't have a plan for not only, they didn't have a plan entering the conflict, they assumed that Iran would fall like Venezuela, but in fact, the opposite turned out to be true, and now it has no idea how to exit the situation. So I think that all of this compounds the logistical problems that are already very much apparent, not only from the food, from the weapons as well. There's been a big issue of the transportation of weapons, of the production of weapons. So you can imagine that right now people are scratching their heads and saying, okay, you say that this is the greatest army in the world, and by many metrics it is, but clearly it can't even feed its own soldiers and sailors and Marines. That's a big problem. And I think that clearly as morale falls, you could start to see various actions take place. You could even see, for example, I'm not going to say that there's going to be mutinies, but you could start to see real slowdowns in military work as they try to figure out what's going on. And people are very frustrated on those ships.
And it does seem as if the plan is just to improvise really at this stage. So, well, Washington seems to be denying the reports that servicemen are going hungry. What is the response? You know, is this what you expected from them?
I mean, having served in the U.S. military, I can tell you that first and foremost, those meals ready to eat, the MREs, they're not too appetizing and they're not too healthy. I can certainly say that some of these ships, which get resupplied now by other ships or by air, clearly there's a lack of fresh produce. So a lot of those sailors, you could see from the images, they're eating a lot of canned goods, a lot of goods with preservatives, nitrates, you name it. So it's not very healthy. And that's why people are getting very frustrated. They're saying, okay, yes, it'll meet the calorie index that I need for the day, but it's not at all nutritional. We're not talking about a high quality meal here. We're talking about the most processed food. And that's a real problem for sailors who have been out there, some of them for over 10, 11 months. Some of them are going on a second deployment now because some of those ships have been out there and have been rerouted to the Middle East. So I think that this shows that not only does the U.S. not care about its troops, it can't even furnish their basic provisions for their basic needs. And I think that that's why families are trying to send these care packages through the mail.
Exactly. Now, the White House is also insisting on keeping its blockade on Iran until a permanent peace agreement is reached with Tehran. Iran has clearly shown that it's not going to back down. Let's take a listen.
The point I was making, the hashtag they are using, is that this administration claims to put America first, but in practice, it has put Israel first, because they make decisions based on false information and their own agenda. So this is what I want to say. Why do I sometimes hear our dear people, even some of our national media, saying, we have destroyed all their military power, let's go destroy the rest, don't negotiate? I want to say here that we must pay attention to this. We definitely dominate on the ground. That is why Trump is requesting a ceasefire.
So, what do you make of that statement?
Well, of course, I mean, Ghalibaf is trying to show that clearly Iran has the advantage here. There's no doubt in my mind that Iran has the advantage, not only militarily in the Strait of Hormuz, but also regionally. And they understand, yes, there are two nuclear powers fighting Iran, but they're not going to resort to nuclear weapons at this point. There was some fears of that. At this point, they're not going to resort to that. Conventionally, Iran cannot go head-to-head, but asymmetrically, with the forces that they do have, whether it be in the Strait of Hormuz, the proxy forces that the West always talks about, or even their drone and missile capabilities, which are par excellence. Not only that, their air defense, which has shut down multiple American aircraft that have never been targeted before in this way. I think that it's clear that Iran definitely has an advantage. Will Iran pay a penalty according to the U.S.? Certainly. But Iran is willing to take on those losses. Iran is prepared for the long haul here. Iran's prepared for guerrilla warfare and for asymmetric warfare for as long as it takes to ensure its sovereignty and independence and that its national security and its rights are protected.
Yes, it does seem that the U.S. did not expect this. Now, looking at the situation on the ground today, hungry troops, stalled negotiations, a closed strait. What's motivating the U.S. to actually stay in the region?
I think Israel is the big motivating factor. And I think the Israel lobby in the U.S., which is extremely powerful, there's no words to really encapsulate it. They are really pushing for the U.S. to maintain its presence in the region and to basically finish the job. Everyone's talking about finishing the job, what should have been done over 47 years. Even Trump himself, Truth Social today about that. So it's clear that there's a big push to try to finish and to overthrow the quote-unquote regime. That won't happen, though. That won't happen. It's not going to happen. It's not easy to do. And Iranians have rallied around the flag. Yes, some in the diaspora are very excited and are hoping for the return of the king or some other, cultish leaders. But in reality, the Iranians in Iran are supporting their government and their nation, even if they're criticizing their government. They're supporting their nation, which is being attacked by two foreign powers, two nuclear powers. So I don't think it's going to be easy. It's not going to be a walk in the park. And as you see, the Americans and the Israelis will pay a heavy price if they continue the aggression.
Well, thank you so much for the details and for joining us today in the studio. We just heard from academic, researcher and international secretary of the American Communist Party, Christopher Helali.
Thank you.
So now, let's go back to the clip that I played before and see who is misappropriating money. You just saw the food on the ships. You just saw how and heard how families are forced to send their family members that are aboard these ships care packages, and the care packages are not reaching them. All right, because of the overextension of American empire. How in the hell can you talk about America first and a national security in conditions like this? So again, hypocrisy at its finest. Listen to one of the greatest hypocritical war secretaries who doesn't know his shoe from his head.
To that point on capabilities, Iran is an energy-rich country, could be, should be. Instead, like so many other places driven by a radical ideology, they've spent that money instead of investing in their people. That's why you had millions of Iranians protesting, because they felt like their quality of life didn't match what it could be or should be. And what was the Iranian state? There's a reason we call Iran the #1 state sponsor of terrorism, because they took the money they make and they invest it in tunnels, and they invested in missiles, and they invested in launchers and UAVs, and we are destroying and degrading that in historic proportions. But it doesn't mean they won't still have some and try to hold people at issue, which is why we're fighting every single day to continue to compel. And you mentioned embassies and consulates. Unlike previous administrations, we are doubling and tripling down on ensuring that our people, regardless of their Department of War, Department of State, whatever they do, are secure in those facilities. And the best defense is a good offense. And so we're not afraid to go after and kill anybody, and we have a lot of them attempting to target our diplomatic facilities. Iran, we're not surprised that they would indiscriminately target, and we're still seeing that.
So he talked about it's no surprise that the people rose up because the quality of life is being destroyed. So when we look at the U.S., and this is from the U.S. perspective, okay, quality of life. The U.S. quality of life is facing significant pressures, with global rankings falling 14th on the Nombio or whatever index, and the percentage of Americans thriving dropping below 50%. Key drivers include astronomical housing and healthcare costs, eroding economic security, and lower life satisfaction, particularly among young adults. Now, if they are talking about an uprising in Iran, why won't they look at themselves? See, this is what I'm talking about with the exceptional mentality. You can see the fault and the flaws in everybody else but yourself. You don't understand that people can't pay their bills. People are under the gun economically. But see, this is a part of the judgment of America. God has them in derision. Every time they think that they're doing right, they're doing something to help bring down the empire. And they can see everybody's faults but themselves. It's almost like a bully in your neighborhood who always tells, hey, that person over there started. This person that is talking is always the one in fights. Always the one that's suspected of stealing something. Always the one that is suspected of robbing people. And yet they go and whisper, hey, that person over there, I believe, stole something. They can't see the wrong in their own actions, and they're trying to project their wrong onto somebody else to get all of the blame off of them. They want an expiation. They want the veil over them, but they want it all of their works to be on you. And that's what we're seeing in America. As a matter of fact, let's see. It was talking about the growing poverty in America and how so many people, I'm not talking about the video, I'm talking about the article I had pulled up, and how so many people are living on the edge from paycheck to paycheck, and how most Americans don't even have $500 saved up for an emergency. $500. And you want to go and talk about somebody else's priorities, somebody else's nation, when they're only spending $10 to $25 billion, according to you, on national defense, and you're talking about 1.5 trillion, which we know that could be anywhere from, according to Mike Maloof, $3 trillion to $5 trillion. You can't make this stuff up. And people keep saying, well, why don't America just close her bases down and come home? Listen, I'm going to explain to you why before we get off the air, because I've had you on long. I'm going to explain to you why it's not as simple as that. America has been an empire for a while.
And we see at home growing homelessness, hunger, and unemployment. She continues to play musical chairs with the redeployment and deployment of troops because she's scared to bring them home. Why? People say, well, we can use that money to do something. No, you can't. That's borrowed money. That's borrowed money. They have borrowed that off the backs of the future, and they've borrowed some off the backs of the people that they're trying to surround. So you can't use that. Because remember, it's debt. So why won't she bring them back? Here it is. They have been preparing for war. They have been trained for war. They have been indoctrinated that these people are your enemies, this, and this. Now check this out. If America were to pack up willingly and bring them within her own borders, she would have highly skilled, highly trained Army, Air Force, Marines, and naval people without work, losing their jobs, no food, about to lose cars and homes. And then she would be dealing with a war at home. This is simple as can be. This is the main reason why she does not bring them home, because she's afraid to bring them home because of what follows that. If she does not have the jobs now, hell, you think she's going to have when they come home? Think about the problem that she's going to have to deal with trained fighters. And they're being forced to choose between medicine for their children and paying the mortgage, getting food for the children, or letting the car get repossessed. That's a war at home. The think tanks understand that. Nobody has brought this point forward. But I was taught this stuff. So I'm letting you understand, see this in reality. And if what I'm saying does not make sense, you can just Google what I'm saying. America's budget is built on that. So if she repurposes the military and bring them home, she does not have the justification to continue borrowing at such great depth. She does not have the lenders. She does not have the tax base. Her companies don't have the jobs. She got trouble at home. And I'm going to play a clip from one of my interviews with Alex Craner. Okay? And in this interview, we discuss something like this. And we talk about why America is always at war. Why the West is always at war. This will be my last video playing of the night. And then we'll come back and we'll wrap this up, okay? Before we go, I want to thank everybody for joining me, for giving me your time. Remember, time is the most precious commodity. It is the most valuable commodity. It is an unrenewable resource. Once you used it up, there's no getting it back. So this is why I'm giving you all of this, because when you leave here, I want you to have an equal or greater return for spending your time with me. That's why it's called spending. So when you spend on something, you hope that you get the product that you spent your money or your time on. Okay? I want you to listen to this. All right? Give me 1 second. Right here.
For you and I, and for any ordinary person and ordinary business in the country, and I'm not in the United States, but the same principle applies everywhere. We could all get along really well, trade with one another, because there's stuff I would like to buy from American businesses, and there is stuff that American people would like to buy from, France, Croatia, China, wherever. And in that case, we could simply live in peace and trade with each other. And, if somebody spent too much and produced too little, their currency would get punished, their credit rating would get punished, exporting countries would be hesitant to, export their goods to them because they would worry about getting paid and so forth. And then that country would have to maybe tighten the belt and improve their production or reduce their imports, and basic economic policy. The problem is that what you and I think about these things and the way you and I would deal with these problems is not the same when it comes to the imperial factions, which are basically the very narrow networks of powers that are clustered around the global banking cartel and the mega corporations that have grown up around them. Now, banking and empire usually go together, particularly the kind of banking and the kind of monetary system that we have in place today. And I'll try to explain in as simple terms as I can think of it. Basically, today's monetary system is, we have fiat currencies backed by nothing other than, trust and confidence. And we have fractional reserve banking, okay? All the money that goes into circulation represents debt. If there were no debt in the system, there would be no money in the system, zero, not a single dollar. And so for any money to be in circulation, somebody has to go into debt. Debt becomes assets on the books of the banks. So the banks, your debt is banks' assets. Your liability, right? That's the bank's assets. Now, given that the debt has to be paid back with interest, but only the principal goes into circulation, the whole system functions like a large Ponzi scheme, because the only way that you can pay your debt plus interest is to earn it from other people who have to go into debt for whatever reason, for consumption, for mortgages, for business development, for infrastructure development, whatever. But people have to keep going into debt, and the system is only stable for as long as it grows. So that's why we have this imperative of always growing the economy, the GDP growth. Even when everybody's satisfied, everybody has everything they need, and maybe they only need to make minor purchases, there's always this imperative for the whole system to grow so that people go more into debt and buy more crap so that more crap can be produced. And the government has to keep going deeper and deeper into debt. That's symptomatic. That's across the world, every government, every nation that has this monetary system in place. And that's pretty much all nations in the world today. Now, what happens is that at a certain point, the system is saturated, right? Everybody maxes out on debt. You don't need more stuff. You don't need to go into debt to buy more stuff. And at that point, the system would begin to implode on itself because it's no longer growing. And at that point, what you need is to expand basically by taking other nations' resources as collateral. Because remember also, you can only grow the credit cycle for as long as you can keep adding healthy money, good collateral into the system. And once everybody's maxed out domestically, there's no further collateral that can be added to keep the system going. Or, maybe it's not enough, maybe it's too marginal. And at that point, if the Middle Eastern countries have plenty of oil, well, why not turn that oil into our collateral? And then our corporations can get into debt with our banks against that oil as collateral. Ditto for, GMO crops, ditto for gold mines, silver mines, coffee, cocoa plantations everywhere. So this banking system creates an incentive for nations that embrace it to become empires. Now, it's not a given that it has to be military expansionism, because in other nations, for example, I grew up in the communist Yugoslavia, same money system, same thing. The government was spending on big monuments, giving people high salaries, employing everybody. And the effect was the same. The system was unsustainable. But in the West, particularly Great Britain and the United States, the system has tended to go towards military interventionism and the expansion of empire. And this is what United States has adopted from its predecessor, which is the British Empire, which, you know, once it began to collapse at the turn of last century, at the turn of the 20th century, 100 years ago or so, the British establishment simply decided to transfer its seat of power to Washington and New York to infiltrate and co-opt the democratic system of governance on the United States, and to help themselves to the wealth and military and diplomatic and political power of the United States to continue expanding their empire and to take all other nations' resources as collateral and to use all other nations' populations as a source of cheap labor. And that's where we're at today. So that's why for them, you know, this logic of let's all get along and trade with each other, for them that doesn't work. They want other nations' collateral so that their money system can keep from imploding. So that
Again, you see why they have to have war. It's because the system is imploding and they have to continue to expand the debt. They have to continue, but they've kicked the debt burden down the road so long that we're in a dead end. They've reached the cul-de-sac, right? But the problem is there's no way out. It's almost like one of the fish traps that you see them make on Laitika, where they put the bamboo fish traps in, and the fish goes into the trap. And you say, why won't the fish come out? Because the fish does not back out of the trap. It just goes forward. It doesn't know that it could back out. Well, the time for backing out of this is long gone. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me on the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, on God's green earth. This is your platform for education, elevation, and edification. This is the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host, your brother, and your friend, and I'd like to say to you all, do right by others, not because there's some material gain to be had or because of some accolades. Do right by others because it's the right, the humane, and the godly thing to do. Because even when no one else is watching you, remember that God Almighty is watching you. As my late, great, and beautiful mother would always say, God sits high on the throne of power, but he looks low at the actions of man. Know that I love each and every one of you who loves truth, but know that the love that I have for you will always pale in comparison to the love that the God of freedom, justice, and equality has for you. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, remember to stay righteous. Hey, mama, your baby boy still loves you more than life. Thank you, everybody. Deuces. We're out of here.
Told you to walk away. That was my first and last mistake. I'm blue without your face, but what can I do? 'Cause I'm just a sinking ship, and you're just